catch her if you can. Here's your look at the new Super 7 Thundercats Cheetara. The brave and noble Cheetara is the fastest of the Thundercats and possesses the ability to run with lightning-fast speed. Though she is often the voice of reason, Cheetara is also an agile fighter. Her speed is particularly formidable when combined with her offensive attacks from her bow staff. Furthermore, Cheetara possesses a sixth sense, a mystical psychic ability, which enables her to sense evil and have visions of the past and future. Seems like we have more Thundercats on the loose. Before we get a closer look at new member Cheetara, I actually picked this one up over on Entertainment Earth's website. So, if you guys have been collecting the Thundercats and still interested to get Cheetara, you should be able to find her over on Entertainment Earth's website by clicking the link down below in the video description. We're going to go ahead now and grab the tape measure just to see how tall Cheetara stands. I have noticed lately that my tape measure seems to be getting a little more tied up inside. I'm wondering if I'm going to have to fix that. The figure, though, nonetheless, is about 6 inches in height, or she's going to be roughly about 15.5 centimeters tall. Then, to compare with other Thundercats, here's what she looks like next to Leader Lino. In this case, Cheetara is shorter than Lino, but she's a little more closer in size to Panthro. Here's what she looks like next to Panthro. And why, you may be asked, why is there a freed up space in between Cheetara and Panthro? This was a size that I thought was a little more closer. Here's what she looks like next to the Matty Collector Thundercat Classics Mumm-Ra. I always thought for some reason that Cheetara and Mumm-Ra were of the same size. Now, granted, yes, the Cheetara here is from Super 7. Mumm-Ra, though, is from Matty Collector, the Thundercat Classics. Maybe we do get ourselves a Super 7 version of Mumm-Ra. If one hasn't already been released, maybe they are a little bit more closer in size to one another. Checking out now the accessories that come included with Cheetara. The first thing we'll have a look at, actually funny enough, is listed on many sites as being a communicator. In actual fact, though, it's the Locket of Lies. You get two versions of the Locket of Lies, one that's open and one that's closed. I feel like they could have accomplished the same thing by simply just including one Locket of Lies that did actually have an open and close flap. You can see this one is the one that already has the closed lid. But again, like, why couldn't they have just made this be something that would open on its own without having to pack a second Locket of Lies with the figure? It just seems like a waste of plastic. The figure also comes included with the flute. The flute is nicely painted here, done mostly here in gray with a little bit of blue down below here, and of course the part that blows into. The flute can be held in her hands, not really the hands that she has right now, but she does have a couple of gripping hands that you can take then the flute and just slide the sides of it in place, and then of course you can hold the flute that way. The figure also comes included with a mirror. The Thundercat mirror actually is nicely done. You can see it. It does have the eye sight down below, and actually on the back there, it does have the Thundercats logo, which actually is sculpted in there, not simply just painted in place. The mirror, they've added a reflective surface to it, so you can actually, well, it works the same way as what a mirror would be. And again, it's a nice additional bit of the Thundercat treasure we've been collecting thus far. So it's nice to see they actually included that. The figure also comes included with two versions of her staff. The one that's the smallest and most likely to be lost if I'm not too careful is this little compact version of the staff. There is no place other than just the side of her arm that can attach onto. So as with the cartoon, you just simply take the smaller end of the staff. There's no other place anywhere on the figure, but that's where the staff always goes when she's ready to draw it out. If you prefer, though, the longer version of the staff, then there's this one here as well, which is made of more of a softer plastic, but painted nicely here in gold. There is one also episode in which this staff is used like a flamethrower. Funny enough, they actually did include the flame that goes onto the end of the staff. Now, unfortunately, though, because the flame effect is so heavy, it does make for a much heavier thing for the poor figure to be able to hold on to. Again, kind of like the Locket of Lies, I don't know why they would have taken the time to include the flame effect. It's in a one-episode sort of scenario, but it's so heavy, It's unnecessary. I feel like, again, they probably should have just used this plastic that was spent on this and spent on the open version of the Locket of Lies. Just use that plastic for something else. Again, you can take the staff. First of all, let's grab a couple of swappable hands here. She does come with a couple of gripping hands for holding the staff and any one of the weapons we just finished talking about, any one of the accessories. She comes with a couple of clawing hands. She is a cat, after all. And then the figure also comes with a couple of like running gestured hands. If you did want to swap the hands out, actually, one thing I did want to talk about, this hand on this side here, obviously this side, because this side has the slot that holds the mini version of the staff. Just be careful of that. You know what, I'm going to actually just take that out right now. Just remove that, put it to the side. While I do like the fact that there's a slot actually for that, just be careful. Obviously, that's going to fall out. The other thing you really want to be careful of, too, is these little bracelets that she has on her forearm. These bracelets are loose. And when you are removing any one of the hands, on this side at least, taking the hand off, first of all, just swivel it back and forth and pop that out. Pop the new hand in. But if you're not careful, these bracelets will slide right off her forearm and somewhere onto the floor you'll never be able to find. Once again, you just plug that back into place. And then, of course, you can take her staff and slide the staff into her hand. Kind of getting similar that pose that she has kind of in the intro where she's got the staff behind her like that. So that's nice. Again, I don't know if I would have included the flame effect. I mean, granted, yes, she does use it as a flamethrower, but enough to really warrant having that as part of an accessory pack. It doesn't make any sense to me. Leave this off. Use that plastic, I feel, for something more deserving, especially when it comes to a figure like this. Because, I mean, look how much space that's taking up. It's literally just a flame that we see in, I think it's only one episode. The figure also comes included with a couple of swappable heads. Let's go ahead and slide the bow staff out, put that to the side. The figure comes, well, actually, you know what, we'll pick the figure up first of all. This is the stock head sculpt of Cheetara. It looks pretty good, although, admittingly, the promo shots of what we saw for Cheetara actually did have, I felt, to be a prettier looking head portrait. It does have the paint nicely handled here. Of course, she has the long flowing hair. I think, actually, the series, she has her hair a little bit longer than what we actually have. I'm not going to nitpick that. She's got all the little spots on the top of her hair. Spots also across her body as well. But it really, overall, it's not a bad head, but I do feel the promo shots of figures always tend to be looking better than what we actually get in the actual more market-released figure line. I mean, obviously, promo images will always look better. The figure also has a version of the head where it actually does have the swooshed back hair. So if you did want to have your Cheetara more in a running pose, she has this hairstyle too. Funny enough, though, this hair is longer. Somehow, while she's gaining speed, her hair also grows in length. This is the hair I wish that was on the defaulted head, just again, flat against her body. But there's this head sculpt also as well. Face-wise, it doesn't look like they changed much at all about the face. I feel like they probably could have changed the expression or not maybe go to the risk of actually having removable hair, because that's not something you really want to have to contend with. But yeah, maybe if they had given a different expression so it doesn't seem like it's just the exact same from one to the other. The figure also comes included with a cat call face. Of course, when Lino is calling the Thundercats, all of their eyes do glow. And again, we get ourselves a case where the head sculpt seems the same, although they've just simply changed the coloring of the eyes, giving it the slotted glowing eyes instead. To change out any of the heads, you simply just pop the head off the ball peg and simply just pop the new head in place. The first couple of times that you do this, you may want to actually heat the peg, because I've noticed actually the heads are a little harder to get in place. But that's what Cheetara looks like now with the glowing eyes. They're not really necessarily glowing. For the rest of the figure's body, it's a nice looking Cheetara. I mean, obviously not scaled to Mumm-Ra. One thing also noticed about the original promo shot that really did concern a lot of Thundercat collectors that were pre-ordering Cheetara is, while I did think that the head sculpt was better, there was a real issue, it seemed, with her thighs. The thighs were sticking out a lot more than what we actually get right here. These thighs are actually more better conformed to her body and just continues that hourglass shape. The other thighs, I think, actually stuck out a little bit. So this is actually a better improved upon figure. Paint is pretty good on this figure. Of course, you've got on the one side the more yellowish color, and then on the other side more of a tan color with the notable Cheetara spots on the top of her shoulders. On the back, of course, you've got the additional spots. A little harder to see, of course, because the hair's in the way, but there's a couple nicely painted in spots on the back of the figure's body. And overall, other than the fact, the figures as a whole with the Classics line of Thundercats, they're generally squat figures. If this was accurately more to the cartoon, you might have a much longer, much taller looking Cheetara. So again, this proportionally fits in well with the rest of the Thundercats, but sort of lino defined, I guess, that that squatter size of figure line that we end up continuing really to now get with Super 7 that started with Matty Collector first. She does have the little cat's logo there down below in the middle, obviously. And again, that's sculpted. Painted pretty good, too. I would imagine they probably would have printed that logo on rather than actually painting it. But it is actually lifted from the front of her, from the front of her top, or the front of her suit. Even though really in the first episode of the Thundercats, it was strange that really that all the Thundercats were essentially naked, including Cheetara. Coloring is quite good here also on the lower end of her legs. Kind of, again, more like kind of very soft orangey coloring. And, of course, she's got the flaps of the boots. Those are nicely done in the beige. And the boots, again, though a little more on the smaller side, are nicely handled as well. I may have mentioned this several times when we had a look at the other Thundercats, and even maybe some of the Turtle classic figures we've gotten from Super 7. These Ultimate figures I really wish would come included with display stands. She does have peg holes on the undersides of her feet, and to the credit really of Cheetara, she stands fine. I mean, it's not the case necessarily where the figure's going to be falling over, but if you did want to have her in a running pose, she is Cheetara after all. If you would want to put her in a running pose, it's not something that you can effectively pull off without, of course, the use of a display stand. For the articulation on Cheetara, her head is on a rotation. Of course, it's sitting on a ball joint. So whether you use this head or use the other head, or even if you want to use the one that has the swooshing hair, long or otherwise, of course, they all sit the same way on that ball joint. There seems like actually it's a dumbbell ball pose. So actually there's a ball joint at the top, there's a ball joint at the bottom that allows the head to look down, look up, and of course you can also walk it back and forth, the head rotation all the way around. Shoulders are on single pin and hinge joints, so you can rotate those or hinge those out. You can also take the arms and rotate them all the way around. A single hinge in the elbow also allows that form to rotate back and forth. She also has her hands rotation all the way around. The upper torso is on a ball joint. The lower half of her torso, by the way, is kind of more of a slightly softer plastic, but the legs do split out. They're on ball and hinge joints on the inside. And she does also have a little swivel at the top of the thigh there as well. Single hinge only on the knee. And the hinge I've noticed also here on Cheetara is very tight. I mean, I can bend the knee. This knee I may actually have to heat up a little bit with a hairdryer, but she can successfully bend the knee, but not really that much. And really because the knee is so far down on the leg, she much has a longer thigh than she does have a lower leg. I mean, when you are bending the knee, you may want to bring also the leg forward as well, because when you have the knee down like this, it sort of looks like she's kicking rocks. And then, of course, she does have the articulation here in the feet. You can also ankle rock the figure as well. Yeah, not a bad looking Cheetara. The only criticism that I could certainly make, though, is I feel there's a lot of wasted plastic here. Well, I do appreciate the fact that she does have 3 different swappable heads. I do think like the head sculpt that we got on the promo images are far superior than we actually get in the actual physical figure. And again, going back to the idea of the Locket of Lies, just going to bring back those accessories. Well, it was nice that we did get ourselves some more Thunderian treasure. I do feel like the Locket of Lies could have been accomplished easily by just doing it one time with an actual flipping lid, instead of releasing 2 of the very same Locket of Lies, one open, one close. And of course, there's also the fire effect. Whether this attaches onto her staff or not, whether that was in an episode or not as she uses as a flamethrower, I just don't think it was a necessary amount of added accessory. This plastic could have been used for something else. It makes for way too heavy of Cheetara to be able to hold the staff while she's got that flame effect on the end of it. And again, like it's just, I don't think it's necessary at all. Cheetara would have been fine to have it excluded altogether with her release. Seeing as Super 7 did not include a display stand with Cheetara or any of the other Thundercat Ultimate figures we've looked at so far, I actually just used one from another figure line. You'll be happy to know at least that they use the same diameter hole in the bottoms of their feet, so yeah, you can use another display stand, but I kind of wish, though, if this is going to be considered Thundercats Ultimates, not only are we going to be getting nods to specific episodes when it comes to accessories, but it would be nice to see that them actually include display stands, especially in case like Cheetara. You would want to think that you'd be able to put her in a running pose, and you can only really successfully pull it off by actually using yourself a display stand. I'm also taking the liberty of using the hair that has the swooshing back running hair. That's nice to see that they included various different head sculpts. Well, I don't think the heads are as good as the promo images of when we first saw Cheetara get released or announced by Super 7. All of the 3 heads, or at least, are pretty, even though really all the face sculpts on all 3 of them, expression-wise and all, are exactly the same. It's nice that at least you get yourself the cat call with the glowing eyes, but I do wish, though, that they could have included different expressions on those faces, not have the exact neutral face on all 3 of the heads, whether they have glowing eyes or swooshing hair or not. All of the accessories are nicely packaged with the figure in the sense that you can look at them, and if you are a fan of the Thundercats cartoons, you can probably place some of those from episodes you may have seen growing up. The Locket of Lies, again, mentioned already, I don't think it's necessary to have included 2 versions of it. And the Flame Effect, I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse with that, but I do think, again, like the Flame Effect is unnecessary. It's way too heavy. Having that just on the end of her staff, how well are you going to pose a figure with a big flaming effect that almost seems as heavy as the figure itself? That's never going to work on the end of the staff. I really, again, think that they should have just left it off completely, or dedicated that same amount of plastic and used it for another accessory. Something else that would have been a little bit more interesting than just a flamethrower on the end of the staff. Whether it's in the episode or not, I don't think it was necessary at all. Now, again, I did pick up Cheetara over on Entertainment Earth's website. It was one of those figures that just came hot off their truck. So she's been in stock, I think, now from the time of I'm hitting this record. I think she's actually been on their site for a while now. So if you guys are interested and would like to get Cheetara and add it to the rest of your Thundercats Ultimates, she is available over on Entertainment Earth. And again, you can click the link down below in the video description. What do you guys think of Cheetara? Let me know down below in the comment section whether you have been collecting Thundercats Ultimates or just based on this review. Is this a figure you'd be interested to pick up? And have you been interested at all to get into the Thundercats Ultimates? Granted, they are going to be a little bit more expensive than your traditional retail released figures. Cheetara, I think, sits well into the $45, $50 price point online. And here in Canada, of course, I have to convert that over to Canadian. So they are a little more on the spicier meatballs side of things. But they are nice looking figures. Again, like, I wish that they could have done a little bit more. And, you know, when it comes to the turnaround time, certainly when they announce these figures, I mean, we're well into how many waves now ahead of us. And we're kind of a little behind when it comes to these figures actually now finally coming out. Still, though, a nice looking figure. I'm glad I did pick this one up. I'm still on the lookout to get myself Tygra. I want to get myself Tygra. And I actually have just recently ordered the Mumm-Ra, the big monster Mumm-Ra. So, of course, when Mumm-Ra, the ever-living, eventually arrives, I will be doing a review of that one, so stay tuned for that. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.